can the NC State Wolfpack have their quarterback? Not talking Brennan Armstrong for the bowl game. We're talking next year already. Grayson McCall joining the Wolfpack. Grayson McCall, the best player in Coastal Carolina history, holds a whole bunch of records for the Chanticleers in Myrtle Beach. It's an interesting take out of the portal for NC State. I don't think, and I want to be on record with this, I don't think it makes sense for most teams to live in the transfer portal for one-year rental quarterbacks. But it does kind of fit what NC State wants to do pretty well. The way that NC State wants to play under Dave Doeren, the things that they value from the quarterback position with the way they're built, they're the things that veteran quarterbacks simply do better than the young guys. And they don't necessarily need the super-duper pro prospect high ceiling that you can only get by betting on high-ceiling high school guys and developing them. They can get by with a veteran. And get by might not even be the right term. Grayson McCall can thrive, but that their team is more about preventing mistakes from the quarterback. I'm going to say that again. Preventing mistakes from their quarterback. Grayson McCall, the thing that stood out to me, right, from the moment he started doing the, PDA thing, the public displays of affection thing with NC State in the portal. You come visit me, I'll come visit you. We'll post cryptically on social media. Right? Oh, look at this. I'm in Raleigh. Like the moment they started doing that, you look into Grayson a bit. And I actually covered him as an opponent for a team I covered earlier in my career. The thing you notice is he does not turn the ball over. He had 3 separate seasons with 24-plus touchdown passes and 3 or less interceptions.
That's good, right?
That's absurd. 88 touchdown passes at Coastal Carolina, 14 interceptions. That's absurd. If you can get the team, meaning the NC State roster, if you can build the team in the same fashion as you built it last year, that is what you need. Don't turn the ball over. Distribute it to your playmakers, specifically Casey Concepcion. And he can do that. And also, by the way, Pack Therapy podcast out everywhere. Myself, Mike Glennon recorded an emergency pod about the Grayson McCall move, so you can hear all of the insight from Mike. But I came to this realization when I was prepping for the pod. Dave Doeren strikes me as the kind of guy that just wants his quarterback to be like an adult, right? He can deal with the 18, the 19-year-olds at other positions. The quarterback, I feel like he wants like a mid-level manager. You know what I mean? He doesn't want an intern. He wants somebody.
He's a regional manager.
Yeah, exactly. He wants somebody that can be seen as more of a coworker. I think that's what in a lot of ways that's what he was looking for in Brennan Armstrong. Somebody that was going to be helping in kind of install the offense with Robert and Nye. He was going to be somebody that got it. And then they had their highs and lows, but that's what I think Dave Doeren is looking for. That's why I think it kind of makes sense here. The interesting one interesting aspect of it, there's a bunch of them, is the Tim Beck element. Tim Beck is the coach at Coastal this past year. Before that, he was NC State's offensive coordinator. So, timeline is this. Tim Beck, NC State's offensive coordinator. The next year, he is Grayson McCall's head coach. The next year, Grayson McCall is NC State's quarterback. It's an interesting little timeline. And it's even more interesting when you think about it from NC State's perspective, because Grayson McCall, those 3 seasons I mentioned that were 24-plus touchdowns and 3 or fewer interceptions, which is very, very, very good, those 3 consecutive years where he was the Sun Belt Player of the Year, Sun Belt Player of the Year, Sun Belt Player of the Year, that doesn't include this past season. That's the 3 seasons previous. This past season, he had 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and dealt with an injury, missed a bunch of games, concussion protocols, all those sorts of things. But even before that, he had doubled the most interceptions he had in a season. So State is looking at Grayson McCall and saying, bring him in here. We want him to be our quarterback. We'll get him back to playing the level of football he played before he was coached by Tim Beck. who happens to be our offensive coordinator from a couple seasons ago. That to me is fascinating. Oh, like, all right, once he gets his claws off him, we'll be able to really unleash him again. Oh, by the way, that's the guy that ran our offense for a couple seasons. Last little funny insight here before we dive back into maybe some more of the football elements. Shout out to Inside Pack Sports. They had the interview with Grayson and broke the news. On the Zoom, Grayson McCall revealed that Casey Concepcion offered him the number 10. The jersey number.
Okay.
To which Grayson declined.
Oh.
But he did point out that just shows how great of a teammate Casey Concepcion is. I would argue it shows how much Casey Concepcion wants the ball thrown in his direction.
Yeah, there's that.
You want number 10? What do you want? You want a water? I'll get you you want a bottle of water? What do you want?
Yeah.
I'll show you around. Come on. What do you want? You want to know the professors what are you looking for, man? I know everybody in this town.
I'll give you number 10 if you give me 10 targets.
10 targets per game contractually.
Fair trade.
I would say so. Although the coaches are going to say, I don't care if Casey gives you the number or not. You're giving him 10 targets a game.
There's that too.
That's our decision. That's not just you two. Talk about it becoming the NFL. Maybe it's like, hey, $10,000, you got the number. But that happens in the NFL. I don't know if it happens in college quite yet. Maybe it's less. But I just think it's good to know that those guys have a relationship already. They're the two most important players on the offense.
We talk about maybe Dave Doeren wanting an older quarterback, a veteran. This is going to be 6 seasons now of college football for Grayson McCall.
Yep.
Because in 2019, he redshirted. He only played 2 games, had a redshirt that year. The 2020 had the COVID year. So this is him being able to use that now as well. So, yeah, you got an older guy who's actually from the state of North Carolina. Let's keep that in mind, too. So I'm sure that Dave Doeren and his staff at the time probably did recruit him or at least looked at him coming out of high school. And
most importantly, I think this was their guy. Yeah. This doesn't strike me as we talked to 5 other quarterbacks and one went to Oregon and one went to Ohio State and one went to Georgia and one went to Alabama, and now we're going to ask you. This, like, the moment the portal opened, they were all about McCall. They were visiting him in home. And I've said this a bunch of times. I'm impressed by the way NC State can mobilize all of the moving parts that it takes to execute a move like this in the modern college football world. Right? I've used the example of, right, they beat North Carolina on a Saturday. They ask for money post-game to go to the collectives. They gather a bunch of money. By Tuesday, they've announced Casey Concepcion, their stud freshman, is inked to a deal with Savage Wolves, the collective, the NIL, Name, Image, and Likeness Money Collective, on Tuesday. In 4 days, they did all of that. With Grayson McCall, it wasn't as quick, but it feels equally as efficient, right? Grayson McCall goes into the portal opens, boom, State visits McCall in his home, right? The in-home visit. A couple of days later, McCall's visiting Raleigh. He's posting a picture from the Capitol Grill. He's wearing sneakers. He's posting pictures. All that is going on. Couple days later, we start to hear rumblings of, a big commitment's coming. They get a commitment from a Notre Dame offensive lineman who started two years for them. Get a commitment from Wesley Grimes, a wide receiver from Wake Forest that is very exciting. Then Grayson McCall's looking around going, all right, you visited me. I liked you. I visited you. You liked me. I'm sure I've talked to the collective of some kind. You're putting offensive linemen and wide receivers to accompany me out of the portal. Let's make this thing official. He commits on Inside Pack Sports. That is all extremely efficient. That is very much like from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to commitment, moving on. That's how you want to handle things if you are the team, the player, the collective, and everybody else that has to be moving in lockstep, kind of like a dance to make something like this happen.